You know the face. She turns toward you, light catching her ear, a gaze that feels remarkably specific. But while her face is world famous, the historical record of who she actually was is empty. The painting is a pillar of the Dutch Golden Age, yet when you stand before it, the 17th century seems to fall away. It's no longer about a period in history, it's about the psychology of your own gaze. We have spent decades trying to name her, arguing she was Vermeer's daughter or perhaps a maid. But these stories are inventions meant to fill a space that Vermeer may have intended to keep blank. Her anonymity isn't a failure of history. It's a mechanism that forces you to meet her as a total stranger, over and over again, without a name to file her under. Most Dutch portraits of this era use the background to define the subject. You'd see world maps, heavy leather books, or expensive furniture to tell you exactly who someone was and what they owned. Here, there is only shadow. That shadow wasn't always absolute. Scientific analysis shows it was originally a rich, deep green glaze that chemically darkened over 3 centuries. Imaging techniques even found a folded curtain in the corner. She originally occupied a specific, defined room that time has since erased. This chemical accident created a psychological trap. With no room or context left, you're pulled into a direct, unavoidable confrontation with her. She wasn't commissioned by a wealthy family to hang in a private hall. She is a tronie, a character study painted for the open market. These weren't actual portraits of specific real people. They were exercises in expression or archetypes, the old man, the soldier, or the oriental figure. The turban she wears is a studio prop. It's a piece of Turkish fashion used to add an air of foreign mystery, rather than a record of what Dutch women actually wore in the 1660s. Vermeer spent a fortune on her visual impact. He used natural ultramarine blue, made from crushed lapis lazuli, the most expensive pigment available in the 17th century. It was sold as a generic type, likely for a small sum to an anonymous buyer. It wasn't recorded as a person, but as a tronie in antique dress. By removing the identity of a specific person, Vermeer created an image that could speak to anyone, in any century. The power of the image is in the turn. Her body moves away, but her face pivots back to meet you in a moment of dynamic tension. Vermeer used a technique called sfumato to soften the edges of her features. Look at the bridge of her nose. It merges with her cheek without a single sharp line separating the two. He added microscopic details to simulate life, like 2 tiny layered spots of pale pink on her lips to suggest the moisture of a living mouth. These blurred edges and pinpoint highlights mimic the way your eye actually sees someone turning in soft light. It bypasses the parts of your brain that see a painting and speaks to the part that sees a person. You feel as if you've interrupted someone mid-breath. Then there is the pearl. It's impossibly large, an artistic exaggeration rather than a piece of jewelry anyone actually owned. Its shape isn't even defined by a line. It's just a single thick stroke of white paint that catches the light and creates the illusion of volume. It anchors the entire image, pulling the light out of the void and focusing your eye on her face. It's human nature to want to solve a mystery. We invent stories because we struggle with the idea of a face having no history. But a definitive name would change how we see her. The mystery would be replaced by a single, static biography. The silence of her history acts as a mirror. Without a name to define her, you project your own interpretation onto her expression. The longing or the sadness you might see in her eyes often has more to do with what you bring to the canvas than what Vermeer put there. Her lack of a name is what keeps her intimate. It ensures she remains an unfinished story for every person who looks at her. Vermeer used light and shadow to trap a single, living fraction of a second inside layers of oil paint. She isn't a historical artifact to be studied. She is a perpetual invitation, an eye contact that never breaks. By withholding her name, Vermeer made sure she would never grow old or become a dead-end fact. He gave her a second that never ends.